Hi, this is Bill Hartzer, and this is the Digital Marketing Podcast with Bill Hartzer. And this afternoon, I have the pleasure of having Peter Leshaw, SEO and Digital Marketing Strategist. Welcome, Peter. Welcome to the podcast this afternoon. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background, and how long you've been working in digital marketing and so forth.
Yes, thanks for having me, and it is great to be here. This Sunday I'm probably moving into my 21st or 22nd actually season or year season. I call it season. A year of doing digital marketing. I got started way back just prior to 2000 in SEO, and then from SEO started to leverage various other channels to springboard off of to help either complement SEO or SEO possibly supplement another digital marketing strategy. So I would say over the last 22 years, I've focused on core competency on SEO, but have worked through email marketing campaigns, affiliate marketing, social media, reputation management, and a lot of paid work as well, paid search.
Yeah, so I started back in the, actually I would say in the late 90s, early 2000s as well, on the webmaster side, and I was, in-house, and I know you've mentioned you've been in-house as well, and I think that the big challenge there was, for me, as I was in-house, was primarily as kind of a webmaster, and also doing search engine optimization and basically trying to help the organization get more visibility online and so forth, was to bring in more essentially bring in more leads for sales. But at the same time, it was, the customer of mine was essentially the global head of marketing. And so there was initially, some wanting to, initially the kind of the process I went through is to kind of document, how we were doing as far as rankings go, and establish the keyword list and so forth, and watch those, and on a regular basis, kind of actually, I remember producing a report, kind of in a, which ended up being a printed document of some, screen captures and analytics data and so forth, about how the website was doing, how much traffic, how many leads, and essentially conversions. It was very very basic at that point. But now we're in a point where we can have dashboards, and a lot of data is more in real time, and we can get a lot of more data now, versus back then, where we basically had to, produce a report. So what has been your experience over the years? You think has it changed from the type of reporting that we're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things along the lines of what you were just talking about is
Sure.
the ability to do real-time reporting, and to not have to invest in a Watson level, IBM Watson level of service in order to crunch your numbers in
Sure.
real time to present to the stakeholders. One of the challenges for being an in-house SEO person is to get corporate buy-in, the stakeholder buy-in, and
Yep.
what gets their buy-in is the ability to lay down expectations that you're available, you think you're going to be able to meet, and along the lines of laying down those expectations, to create dashboards that single out the specific KPIs that various entities are in tune to when they are grading the success or failure of SEO. So being able to create a dashboard in real time through the use of like a data studio, Google Data Studios, which is just basically tying in various data sources, as well as Google Analytics, Google Ads, segments of Google Analytics if it's organic, and then present that in a way that's only pulling out the cherry picking the data that you need to show, and then you can cross-reference that over a period. whether it's last week, last month, year over year, whatever. Being able to do that has, I believe, changed the industry and has made the people that invest in create and laying down the proper expectations, the SEOs that lay down the proper expectations, that provide the physical evidence through dashboards to show that, what they're doing. I think it elongates their tenure at the organization, because gone are the days when the CEO is saying, I don't know what SEO is doing. I know it's something that takes a long time. We're doing it today. We're spending all this money. But, those days are gone, because we can provide an SEO meter right now that shows when we're moving the dial. And I think that that's a big change with available tools to, that allow you to do that.
Sure. So we mentioned, you mentioned the dashboards. My first inclination is, okay, well, my first thought is, okay, the first kind of process, even before that, is to understand who the actual major stakeholders are. If it's C-level or business owner type of people, versus then you'd have marketing people. Then you would have potentially the technical webmaster type of people, and so those would theoretically be several different types of dashboards. And the critical part, as I see it, is to actually begin to understand, or try and really understand what define the success for each of those stakeholders. So certainly the CEO, what if you're talking about CEO or business owner, what do they want to see? They don't want to necessarily see how fast one particular web page loads and so forth. They want to see a certain type of set of data. And so if we can spend time understanding that and understanding what we need to show, or what is important to each of these types of stakeholders, then we can create the dashboards and those custom dashboards for each one of those segments of people who need to see that data.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think in the initial meeting that I have with every one of my clients, specifically the person in charge of paying the bill, I ask them a very direct question. What is it that you look at on whatever data point you have, whether it's your in-house bookkeeping, your sales department dashboard? What are you looking at to determine whether or not SEO is succeeding or failing your company? And when they start to say things like, I need to know that my phones are ringing. Okay,
Sure.
Great. Well, then that means I need to establish a phone tracking system that segments out organic traffic, if it's organic that I'm in charge of. If it's paid, then paid traffic. Obviously, we can channel it easier that way. But if it's organic, then you need to be a smart enough strategist to know technologies like call tracking metrics that allow you to have a random number that displays, that can pull out that organic keyword that the person typed in when they filled out that form. So it's asking those very specific direct questions, and then digging into your analytics and finding out where those data points are and pulling them out. As you mentioned, the sales director will have a different SEO dashboard. His dashboard will be, how many calls did he get from organic? How many calls did he get from specific campaigns on organic? How many calls did he get from other referrers to the website?
Sure.
Your webmaster, although you can never expect your webmaster to become that SEO because he's a coder, but you can help sort of lay a foundation or a culture of SEO by saying, listen, go pizza party with the guy, grab some soda and say, listen, when you're doing your work, these are the KPIs within my Google Analytics that I look at that are directly affect the things that I think that you can help with. Page load speed time, possibly maybe it's pages per session or bounce rates. Maybe if there's certain bottlenecks in that sense, or maybe server response times. But there's certain things that you
404 errors. I know.
404 errors through your Search Console stuff. Then you go to your content department who's writing your blogs and saying, look, we're gonna give some KPIs that are click-through rates that you're going to be in charge of, bounce rates, average sessions per pages per sessions. Those will be the 3. You don't want to give them too many. And we're going to look at and maybe on social media engagement rate and likes and stuff like that. So now when you take all these different departments and you have your interdepartmental meetings with them, you know whether or not you're moving in the right direction. So dashboards and that relates to the physical evidence so that everyone can see what you're doing.
Sure, exactly. And obviously then you have your, essentially the SEO dashboard, which could be asked separately, or the digital marketing dashboard, if you will, that will can give you different, give different information as well. And, obviously, it could be, it could have technical issues on there that need to be addressed. It could be, pulling, if it's an e-commerce site, it could be pulling information or errors from information from Google Search Console. I know that I have a couple of clients who do have e-commerce sites, and I'm constantly watching, Google Search Console in particular for, certain types of errors. I know we've been implementing schema and a lot of different things, product schema and so forth. And so it's kind of a constant, watching of that. So there's so much, different information. And then we haven't even mentioned competitors, potentially a dashboard that is watching, how competitors are doing. And, if there are some specific competitors that you're watching and what, and so forth.
Yeah. Basically the amount, I also find other solutions like SEM Rush as a great tool to aggregate various data points that you need to be in tune to. Getting back to or speaking to the competitive information that you can get out of that.
Sure.
And I'm not certain, I haven't done it in a while, but I know that I think you can break off same thing, how you can use Google Data Studio to cherry pick the right KPIs for whoever. If you use something like an SEM Rush where you're pulling in all sorts of data, you can cherry pick the different dashboards, because that has multiple dashboards, and send those reports off to your stakeholders for their buy-in. A long time ago, I think you and I already know each other from probably most likely PubCon. I've been speaking there for about 10 years or so. And
Sure.
early on, I speak towards SEO and growing an in-house SEO team and culture and development. But a while back, there was a couple tracks that I did that was SEO, in-house SEO, compensation. And it was talking about, my basically contribution to the panel was how do you make certain that you keep your job? Going back 10 years ago, you're still in the time in the era where agencies and brands were hiring and burning and churning. They're trying to hire and trying to find that top gun, find out as much as you can, then go out and get the next guy. But what could you do to stay on long term? And for me, it was about building dashboards and showing incremental success. You can start a campaign today, okay? And yes, you can expect that campaign, if it's a new landing page, to be indexed today, this week, fairly soon. And then you can expect, if you're having a phone number tied to it, to get calls to that. And if that's the case, you pull out that data, put it in so that you can go to your boss and say, yeah, we just launched this campaign last week, an SEO campaign, and this is what it's doing. And so I try to, you know, take away that notion that SEO is something that takes so long before you can figure out what's doing, because business owners don't really have an arbitrary, 6 months, 8 months that they're going to want to keep dumping money into something unless they really understand what they're getting in return.
Sure. And, over the years, though, I have actually seen, one of my observations, because I've been doing this so long, I've been able to see that a lot of things on the SEO side have become, especially in the past 5 years or so, a lot quicker. Google's crawling more. Google does crawl. They process a lot of the information fairly quickly. You can create a new page and ideally get it crawled and indexed, within a day. And depending on the topic and so forth, they can rank well fairly quickly. And so there are some quick wins that you can have. You can adjust, page load speed, and you can see some results. We're not talking about, it used to be that 10, 15 years ago, it was, the SEO results would be months. But now we're talking about potentially, days and weeks versus, if things are adjusted. For example, if I was dealing with an issue with product schema on a site that it was giving errors, and Google really was not. Google was seeing the errors, and as soon as we fixed the errors, fairly quickly, within a few days, we did see, again, that page doing well, or those, the pages that had the errors. And so, things have luckily sped up, in certain areas. But, overall marketing, it does take time to establish a brand. It does take time to, for a lot of things that you can't really rush in certain areas.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. So we're just about out of time for this episode. So why don't you give me a little bit of information about how we can get in touch? I know you do a lot of digital marketing consulting and so forth, and building of dashboards. But tell me a little bit about how we can get in touch.
Yeah, I invite people to work with me or contact me directly straight to my personal email address, which is peter@leshawco, LESHAWCO.com. I'm an
Sure.
SEO and digital marketing strategist, available for hire to help sit alongside a C-level or other stakeholders, owners of the company, to make certain that their expectations are being met by their marketing or agency, and to build those dashboards to help show, the work that's being done is providing a positive return on their investment.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks again for joining me this afternoon, Peter. This has been the Digital Marketing with Bill Hartzer podcast for July 2nd, 2020. Thanks again. We'll see you online, Peter. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.